Alright everybody, today we need to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. It's been a pretty crazy week for Manchester United, as usual. Signings incoming remain extremely slow, ponderous. We have got Tyrell Malacia through the door though, so come on! But anyway, we're not here to talk about incomings, we're here to talk about one certain outgoing. Now, unless you've been living under a rock for the last week, you'll know that Cristiano Ronaldo has asked to leave Manchester United. He's also failed to show up to any of pre-season so far, citing family reasons. In fact, let's get an update on the story.
He's told Manchester United he wants to leave. My information is that United will listen to offers for him. Of course, they're not going to say that in public. Their position in public is going to be that the player is not for sale.
As we understand it, he will not be part of the Manchester United party scheduled to depart for their pre-season tour of Thailand and Australia on Friday.
Now, before I give you my opinion on what Manchester United and Cristiano Ronaldo should do, let's look at it from both sides, from Cristiano's side and from Manchester United's perspective. From the eyes of Cristiano Ronaldo, I think it's totally fair enough he wants to leave. He's 37, about to turn 38 this season, and he still wants to be competing for those top honours. He wants to be competing in the Champions League, scoring goals and adding to his record tally there. He wants to be winning league titles and major silverware. And let's have it right, he's not going to do that at Man United. He also performed really well in his first season. He did exactly what was asked of him. 18 Premier League goals, the third highest in the league. 24 in all competitions. So hats off to him. He's still performing at a really top level. But despite that, where does he go? From Ronaldo's perspective, he wants to join a club that are winning the Champions League, you'd think, or at least going deep in the Champions League, not just playing 2 or 3 games in the group stage and then exiting to play Europa League football anyway. And who is that side? I don't see it in the market. Maybe it's Chelsea under new ownership of Todd Boehly who want to sign a shiny new toy, but does he fit into a Thomas Tuchel highly pressing system? Not for me. Maybe it's Bayern Munich, but does he fit into a Bayern Munich team that are extremely mobile and a Julian Nagelsmann side that want to play extremely front foot press, counter press football? Again, not for me. So from Ronaldo's perspective, does this potentially lead to a slightly embarrassing situation where there are no clubs of the level Ronaldo wants that actually want him? And it has to be a U-turn and he ends up coming back to Manchester United? I do think that is a little bit of a risk. But overall, from Ronaldo's side, I can see why he wants to go. Let's look at it from United's perspective then. And it's no good at all on a number of different levels, really, is it? The timing is an absolute disaster. You would imagine that Erik Ten Hag has spent the last 2 months planning on how he's going to utilise Cristiano Ronaldo in a system, and that might not now happen. It also means they haven't had the last couple of months to prepare for signing a starting striker, a player who's going to play 30 plus games through the middle every single week. That hasn't happened, and the options on the market now seem extremely thin. In fact, they seem non-existent. I can't think off the top of my head one player that fits the mould of that striker. If you can at home, if you're a Manchester United fan, who do you want to replace Ronaldo? Let me know in the comments below because I'm struggling. So that brings us to my opinion on whether or not United should keep or sell Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think there are positives on both sides of the fence here. First and foremost, let's talk about the positives of keeping Ronaldo. Well, it's an understatement, quite frankly, to say he's good at finding the back of the net. Like I said, plenty of goals in league play last season, plenty of goals in the Champions League. I think last season was the first time in over a decade he's dropped below 20 league goals. This is the most elite finisher, maybe in history, certainly of the modern era. And at times, he was single-handedly responsible for Manchester United's successes. You think to the hat-tricks and the goals against Tottenham, against Norwich, mostly in the Champions League. Without him, where would we have been last season? So clearly, goal-scoring-wise, keeping him would be a big positive. Are you pro Ronaldo? You Ronaldo in or out? You're Ronaldo out. Okay. Another benefit of keeping Cristiano Ronaldo would be, like I said earlier, not having to find a replacement on short notice to fit that system. You know, a rush job to sign a striker can sometimes backfire, and United's budget is not infinite. this summer, and clearly the striking area was slightly lower down the pecking order behind the likes of a central midfielder and a central defender. So a big positive would be not having to find a replacement. Beyond that though, my personal opinion, and I'm going to whisper this, but there might be more positives to selling him at this stage. Let's face it, right now it feels like a marriage of inconvenience between the two parties, doesn't it? And if we're being realistic and we're being honest, Manchester United are not going to be competing for major silverware next season. They're not going to be competing for the Champions League. They're not going to be competing for the league title with or without Ronaldo. So if you're being honest with yourself, it might well be better to start long-term planning for those competitions and that level of success now, rather than trying to keep Cristiano Ronaldo against his will and playing him in a system that maybe Erik ten Hag is having to adapt because of Ronaldo and still winning nothing for a season. Is it better to start the rebuild early and go from there? I think so. The overriding feeling I have is that it will be easier for Ten Hag to create a cohesive sort of team dynamic without Ronaldo. Now, obviously we're going to miss his goals and that is going to hurt us, but the team is more important than any individual at this stage. If you look back to, let's say, his first spell at Manchester United, when Cristiano Ronaldo had supporting acts like Park Ji-sung, Wayne Rooney, Carlos Tevez, they all worked incredibly hard to do the yards Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't doing. And therefore, we look like a well-oiled machine. When United don't have those parts to do the things Ronaldo doesn't want to do, as we had last season, it looks like a stuttering, stumbling mess at times. And I can already see the comments now. There'll be people saying, yeah, but where do United find those goals from? Where do they find those 24 goals from that Cristiano Ronaldo scored in all competitions? Well, look, the season before Ronaldo arrived, they scored more goals than the season with Cristiano Ronaldo. And clearly, I'm not saying that's entirely his fault. Everybody in the team took a step back, but it's very obvious that when Ronaldo is in the side, everything has to run through him. The functionality of the team totally changes to be much more individualistic. It's just a fact. Now, of course, they had Greenwood back then. They had Cavani scoring goals. They had Rashford as a 20-goal-a-season striker. And two of those are no longer in the squad. Rashford has had a terrible 18 months. Erik ten Hag, with or without Ronaldo, has a big job on his hands. Without Ronaldo, in forward areas, has to create something that's pretty much a miracle. But like I said earlier, the level of that miracle doesn't really matter because they're not going to be winning the league with him. So they're not going to win the league without him. It doesn't have a huge effect on silverware. What it does have a huge effect on, in my opinion, is long-term strategic planning of what that front line looks like. Does it mean that better output comes from Jadon Sancho? Does it mean Bruno Fernandes returns to some of his best action? Does it mean we see a resurgence from Marcus Rashford? Maybe. And that maybe is better in the long term than no in the short term. Because even without signing a number 9, we've seen Erik ten Hag be able to create really successful teams missing a figurehead. That 2018-19 Ajax side, probably my favourite of the Erik ten Hag sides to watch, had Dusan Tadic playing as a false 9. Is it a huge leap to suggest that Bruno Fernandes could play in a similar role when he scored so many goals upon his arrival? Eriksen could play slightly off him, rotating with Donny van de Beek. Sancho and Rashford could add value from the wings. I don't think it is. And again, I come back to the point of where does that level of side finish? Maybe 5th or 6th. Where does the level of side with Ronaldo finish? Maybe 5th or 6th. But the side that finishes 5th with slightly younger players being developed quicker, in the long term, has a higher ceiling. It's just true. So look, let's summarise. I would be perfectly happy with Cristiano Ronaldo staying this season. Whatever happens, I think United are probably going to finish 5th or 6th in the league. And if he stayed, he'll score goals, as he has done every season in his professional career. But I would also, maybe slightly more so, be pleased with him leaving. United might get a fee. They might be able to start the long-term planning of this project slightly sooner. And I think there's probably a little part of Erik ten Hag that might think to himself, do you know what? This allows me to play a different brand of football, a pressing brand of football. It allows me to add a certain player that I didn't have before. And he might see it as a positive. Manchester United fans, I want to hear from you though. Which side of the fence do you come down on? Is it a good thing if he leaves? Is it a bad thing if he leaves? Let me know in the comments below, as well as who you think you would sign to replace him. There we go. Got there eventually. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.